I'm Eric Wright. I'm a dad of a daughter with Angelman Syndrome, and I'm pleased to be here. So I'm going to try this out to see if this works. It does. All right, so let's talk about Angelman Syndrome. And I'm going to walk around a little bit, and I see some familiar faces. So good morning, Bill. How you doing, brother? All right, so Angelman Syndrome, it's a developmental disability, and it has met the federal criteria, which is that really it's severe chronic. It's attributed to either a mental or physical impairment or a combination of both. And so it happens before the age of 22, and it's likely to be indefinite. It's not going to, well, we don't know. There is hope, for sure. We want to make sure we keep that at the forefront. There's hope that there is a possible therapeutic for this, but in reality, we know that in the past, it's been indefinite. It hasn't had that opportunity to bring itself to the forefront. And it impacts self-care, we all know that, learning, self-direction, economic self-sufficiency, receptive expressive language, mobility, and the capacity for independent living. So how I got into this is I just want to kind of give an introduction about who I am and why I do what I do, is because I was a dad, and I had a daughter prior to my Angelman daughter who had a disability. Her name's Ella. And so Ella, we adopted from the Ukraine. And so I was, a resource coordinator. That's what I did for a profession. I was a family resource center coordinator in Jefferson County, Louisville, Kentucky, the largest city in Kentucky. And I was pretty good at what I did. I was good at what I did. I knew resources for families, and I would help people find resources, and I could get them the resource they need, or I could direct them, or I could tell them the truth that there wasn't a resource. So you always got to keep it straight with people. Yes, you can. No, there's nothing, or I don't know, I'll find out. So after, and I've told this to the dads in this group, what happens when you adopt a child and you didn't think you could get pregnant? You get pregnant, and we were pregnant with our first natural child. And when she was born, we had already seen a daughter that had a disability because Ella, our daughter we adopted from Ukraine, had cerebral palsy. We were familiar with some delays. We started seeing the delays, so we were very aggressive in our approach with therapeutic intervention and physical therapy and speech. And so then we found out that 13 months, genetically speaking, that she had Angelman Syndrome. So, whoa, it was like, kick in the gut, and I'm like, so I vividly remember that day because I said, what is out there to help us with this process? And I just started digging into anything I could find. And I went to a conference, and I walked around, and I saw this nice lady, and she sees me, and I'm looking studious, and she goes, hey, would you like to be a part of the Council on Developmental Disabilities in the state of Kentucky? Would you have a daughter or a son with a disability? Yeah, well, yes, I do. And I said, what does it mean? Well, you have to apply to the governor's office, but we're looking for some new members. Okay, I'll do that. So I filled out the application. I get appointed by the governor to the Council on Developmental Disabilities. And the next thing I know, I'm hanging out with 32 people that have been through this journey and in the middle of a state lawsuit in Kentucky for waiver programs, and I'm part of this public policy committee. So I served on that committee for 6 years at the governor's request, and then I got appointed to the Medicaid Technical Advisory Council for Kentucky. Wow, that was eye-opening. Talk about just amazing stuff that I was able to learn and digest and still learn. I'm still learning today. And then I got appointed to the Medicaid Assisting Council for the entire Commonwealth, where I sit with physicians and pharma and dentists and podiatrists and nurses and hospitals and CEOs, and we talk about policy for Medicaid. So that's how I got into this. It was not because I was like, hey, I want to do this stuff. This is my profession. I learned this stuff from having a daughter, 2 daughters with a disability. So one of the things that always comes up is, what are some financial assistance programs for individuals with developmental disabilities? I want to just clarify the 2 that are the most well-known are Social Security disability insurance and supplemental security income. So what are the differences? Well, the differences are both run by Social Security Administration, and they're designed to benefit the disabled. and they're helpful programs, and they're going to be something you're going to want to know about. There's a big distinction, though, is, and again, let me be clear, they're managed by the Social Security Administration. And I found out about a new resource, remind me to share about that too, from yesterday. See, you definitely need to know about these things, okay? There are specific eligibility requirements, and they're very different. One significant difference is SSDI is only available to workers earning enough work credits. Now, is that going to impact our families? Probably not, but it may, I don't know. But I put it up there because if it does, we want to be prepared. Where SSI, their disability is based on low-income individuals regardless of whether they have earned sufficient work credits, plus at age 18 for our children, it becomes a definitive process. Our children qualify for SSI at age 18, all right? But they may qualify by income standards which vary state to state. So whatever state you're at, you may be able to qualify for supplemental security income for an amount that I'll talk to you about in a few minutes. Now, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask me a question. Don't hesitate to stop me and say, but Eric, hey Eric, what about this? Because that's how we learn together. We learn by talking and communicating together. So it's strictly need-based with supplemental security income. So when you get supplemental security income, it's based upon a need for additional financial assistance because of extenuating circumstances, which is what happens in our situation. We need that, or our adult children need that, our families need that, and what the whole focus here is to help improve everybody in this group right here, quality of life. This is about quality of life issues. This is about making sure we have resources to ensure for the long future, because what we're doing is empowering you for the future, and that's really what we're here to do, and that's what I'm here to do. Let's learn about that too. So supplemental security income, it's really important you take some notes here. If you don't, this is being recorded. Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, is that right? We're recording this session so that people can come back and take a look at it, but I want to make sure you are familiar with this. The eligibility criteria, does this have a pointer on this? No laser pointer, okay. No, it's fine, Eric. You have to have less than $2,000 in assets as an adult. More recently, I just read two. Some people thought that impacted children. Well, it does, but it's $4,000 to $5,000 based upon single household or a dual parent household. So you can keep that money up to $4,000, but what do you think I suggest to you? Keep it less than $2,000. Don't start an account at all, because what happens if you you get supplemental security income and you have more than $2,000? They're going to start looking to where they can recoup some of that money. And so keep it out of your children's name. It's going to serve you the long term. So one thing you take away is that we really need to make sure we keep things out, unless you start an ABLE Act, and we'll talk about that too, ABLE account. And even if you're not eligible for SSI, on his or her 18th birthday, because you and your spouse maybe had too much income or too many resources, he or she is going to become eligible at age 18. Because it then becomes their income that's going to be the determining factor for supplemental security income. And so in 2017, what does that mean for you? That means that your maximum benefit, and maybe there's some housing spin down that takes away a little bit of that, but actually you can fill out what's called it's a voucher for housing that shows that they're paying rent to you. If you fill that out with the Social Security Administration and you actually charge them rent, then your full benefit can be up to $735 a month. Did everybody hear that? So if you have a daughter or a child with Angelman under 18 and they're taking money away from that $735 based upon the fact that they're receiving benefits from your home and living in your home, you can improve that by filling out a voucher that shows they are paying rent and then have them pay rent to you. Now there's still going to be there's going to be accounting, there's going to be red tape, paperwork that you're going to have to follow a little bit, but I've heard spin down on housing can be as much as $200 to $300 a month that people are getting taken away from their SSI because a child with Angelman's living in that home. Fill the voucher out, fill the form out, and then you can raise that back up to $735. Everybody shake your head if you're listening to me. Everybody awake this morning? All right, that's good. This is good. I love this. All right. And what are we talking about here? Let's just keep it real. We're talking about money right now. This is about money. And I'm not saying that's the determining factor for quality of life, but it sure helps when you want to come to a conference or you want to pay for trip or you want to make sure that your child can fly on an airplane instead of driving a car, or Bill.
That voucher form, is that available on the website, on government websites?
I don't know the answer, Bill, but I was talking to the lady from Mass Mutual yesterday, and she and I was having this conversation, and she said, you can avoid that by filling out that housing voucher. And I said, really? I didn't really know that. See, I have an 11-year-old daughter, so I learned along my journey as well. So I learned that yesterday. Rob Dixon from Florida shared some stuff with me. Robin Wilkerson from Mississippi shared some stuff with me. I shared some stuff with the Mass Mutual lady. We shared together and we learned together. I'm pretty dangerous, though, in knowing stuff. When I say, why is it dangerous? Because knowledge is power, and that's really important. And I want you to have the power to empower you to make your best decisions. So at $735 a month, that's $880.30, or $8,830.84 a year. That helps, right? Does that help? Yeah. And you can qualify that based upon income criteria. You can income criteria if you meet the threshold at your state. You need to try to apply, but you need to apply anyhow. Let me tell you why in a second, okay? If you get denial, save that letter. Scan that letter of denial if you keep it, because it's going to be very important when it comes to applying for waivers, Medicaid waivers. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so again, I emphasize that each state has their, that should be, that, I didn't spell that right, so hey, forgive me, all right. Their own guidelines. You must be blind, disabled, or age 65 or older. You must be a citizen of the United States. Your monthly income has to be below a certain level. You can actually earn income, so if you're employed and you have a disability and you're doing an employment program, you can earn income. There's different criteria for that. Most of it's it's close to $1,000 of earned income potential without having any impact on your SSI and eligibility. But your assets have to remain below $2,000, or you have an ABLE account or a special needs trust, and that money gets put in there, and then the government leaves you alone for a little bit. Okay? And so federal and state Medicaid programs are just a big part of what we're going to be learning about too, because we're talking about supplemental security income, which is at 18 and potentially younger if you meet the criteria in your state. Each state, though, determines Medicaid, how to use Medicaid dollars, which are federal funds, to develop a state Medicaid plan. This is a big one, guys. Huge. We all know the political situations that are going on today, and I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. By the time I present this session, it may change tomorrow. But what I know now is there's waiver programs, and Medicaid is funding those programs, and Medicaid is being funded at 70% federal dollars and 30% state right now. And we have Medicaid Part B in schools for PT, OT, and speech, and you should have access to that because that is something that you qualify for, whether you're at a private school or a public school. All right? So the plan combines these federal funds to operate what's called a state Medicaid program, and they have to adhere to these certain federal guidelines to be able to spend those funds. So they have to adhere to those guidelines. And an individual can find out more if they just visit this link, which will be on the PowerPoint and video. But if you go, you can go state-by-state programs, and you can find out how those funds are spent or how you can access what Medicaid programs are out there. Am I going too fast? All right, everybody had their coffee? Did you get your coffee this morning? Did you bring me mine? Oh, man, I'm kidding. I'm joking with you. I put Blake in charge of that, but he forgot all about it. I'm messing with him. Blake's from Alabama. We had a great discussion the other day, didn't we, Blake? Yeah, I'm coming to Huntsville. Maybe, I don't know. I've met with so many of you all, and I love it because I know we help each other. All right, let's move along. Now, this is important as well. Level waivers, waiting list, and advocacy. And my next session is telling your story, because that's going to be important when you start putting your advocacy hat on as we move forward and do things together. So states provide levels of care for families, and most of that's based upon a new implementation called the Supports Intensity Scale. Anybody gone through a SIS assessment in their state at all? Okay. Yeah. SIS assessments are being conducted. That's what they're called. Generally speaking, I've never seen it where an Angelman doesn't qualify for the highest level of care. Angelman syndrome child, let me say it. Your special child with Angelman syndrome generally qualifies for the highest level of care. And residential services, which is your highest level, has extensively long waiting list. There's about 3 ways to get on that waiver, and I'm going to keep it real. Primary caregiver passes away, or they are not able to take care of their child, or there's an extenuating circumstance that's providing like an emergency situation. It could be incarceration, it could be those things, but each state, like in Kentucky, we have about 200 new slots for the highest level of waiver services per year for that, because that comes with a substantial dollar figure for residential. And what does that mean? Well, it could be 24/7 care, a group home, something like that, or it could be you purchasing a home and providing that care through self-directed services. But it's important to get on all of the list. All of the list. Level 1, that's where you first get, and let me speak, there's a hierarchy. Level 1 is like this. Somebody give me somebody has a car that, went away because it wasn't so successful, it wasn't really able to be produced and continue because it just didn't do good. Oh, okay, who remembers the Pacer? Anybody remember the Chevy Pacer? Now that car was not the greatest car. It was functional. It got you to point A and point B, right? But it was still functional. It was a car that got you to point A and point B. Well, level 1 waiver is like that. It's going to provide you some basic, really low-level kind of support with respite, maybe some personal care and attendant care. Basic, low-level. But that's the starting point, because that's where likelihood you're going to start with your services. But what do you get when you get that waiver? What's the big thing? You get Medicaid. Even if you have primary insurance, you get Medicaid. You're on the waiver. You get respite, personal care, attendant care, and you get Medicaid. And why is that important? It's important because it saves you from what? Bills, insurance, hospital stays. Your primary still is going to pick up as first. Medicaid picks up second, so your co-payments are going to go down. Your deductible will be spent first, but then you're going to jump to Medicaid, and often Medicaid picks up your deductibles. Everybody hearing this? That means more money in your family's pocket to do more things that are helpful for your children. An augmentative alternative communication device. Maybe you need to buy one. That money then can be filtered into that resource that you need. Level 2 waiver is like your Honda. That's how I look at it, okay? It's a pretty good car. I mean, it's reliable. It's got a long track record of doing a good job. And it's what a level 2 waiver includes, maybe some other additional bells and whistles. So you get respite, you get Medicaid. Well, first you get Medicaid. You can actually let me be clear too. You can receive level 1 and be on the waiting list for level 2 and 3. So you can be receiving waiver services, but you still remain on the list for the others that are going to be available to you, okay? Level 2 is like a Honda, though. A Honda gets you from point A to point B, and it's going to have respite, and it's going to have community living support, it's going to have personal care, attendant care, but then it's going to throw in some things like this. Job coaching, case management, independent living skills, adult day programs. Those are all really, really important. They are helpful for your family. So you get that. But then you take it to the level 3 waiver, which is a residential waiver in most states where you actually have a per day allowance for residential services. And it's like, I don't know, what's a really great car? What do you think is a really, really great car? If it was your dream car, what? It's like your Mercedes. Maybe not the convertible, but it's still good, you know. It's, you know, and I'm not trying to be silly, but really I'm trying to put it in perspective. We understand that hierarchy. The Mercedes is really a very nice car. It's going to have all of those bells and whistles, but it's got one additional piece, a residential component to it. And that's critically important for future planning. Critically important for your siblings to know that, for the siblings of our special children with Angelman Syndrome to know that, because they're going to need that, all right? So the names vary state by state. Like Katie Beckett is in multiple states based upon a lawsuit for Katie Beckett, and there's a Katie Beckett waiver. There's the PAD waiver. There's a Southern California has the Medi-Cal, and they have regional centers, and then you have waivers that are, and they vary state by state, and each state has waiting list, most of them. So start early, get this going quickly if you have not at this point. And if you have not at this point, don't sit there and go, I'm going to beat myself up. I didn't do this. It's okay. You probably didn't know. Somebody didn't tell you. Yeah.
Great. So, excuse me, I have a question, and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but so I have a son who's 12.
Yeah.
So he's not of age yet.
And I'll repeat her question.
And I am all about getting benefits for him because I cannot provide everything, and even if I can, I'd rather put that into the trust that he has money later in
Yeah.
his life when I'm gone. Okay, and I have a lot of benefits I'd like to believe, but I still have problem figuring out in my state, which is Arizona, where I am. Am I really level 1, 2, or 3? And what is it? Because this is the most important part for me. Finding what I can get for him. And there is like a taboo around this topic. Nobody can or wants to tell you.
All right, so let me repeat what she says, because she said it's her big frustration is that she's getting good benefits, but she's not even sure what level she's on because people don't really tell her or explain to her or show her the way. Connecting to other families is critically important because some have gone that journey, but I'm going to give you, at the end of this session, 3 organizations that can help you immediately help find your journey, okay? Every state, and other territories, okay? All right, it's a great question, thank you, that comes up a lot. So I talked about that. The services provided by all waivers include respite, personal care, attendant care. That's at all 3 levels. Then service provided by higher level waivers, like the level 2 waivers, picks up community living, job coaches, case managers, environmental supports, home modifications. So like you can get a home modification from some waivers now. I'm telling you, you also can get durable medical equipment, which is diapers or briefs or wipes. You can get some of that stuff. Now, it's difficult in some states because they charge reimbursements on it, or they do reimbursement processes where you pay and then they reimburse, and that's a slow process at times. All right? At the high level, they include services, all of those above, but the 24/7 residential care benefit that comes into play. When I say that, it's a per day rate or a budgeted item. Does everybody understand? It's budgeted, and it varies from state to state. So I don't want to tell you that it's going to cover every need, but it should cover most needs. This is probably one of the most important part. Well, I always say it's most important, but this is really critical too. First, get on the waiting list, but secondly, know the difference between 2 ways to receive your reports or your supports and services. Traditional provider and agency provider, and I'll give you a concrete example. In the state of Kentucky, there's an agency called ResCare. They're a Medicaid provider for waiver services, and they're a for-profit entity. They bill for residential services, but actually mostly they bill for personal care, respite care. And they'll hire somebody and train them to be that provider, and they're going to pay them at a wage around $10, $12, $14 an hour. And do you get to know who those people are? Eventually, but do you get to have control of who they hire? No. You don't. And if you consumer direct or self-direct your options, it allows you, the individual or a member in your family, the opportunity to control the Medicaid budget with a fiduciary agency writing the checks. But what you get to do is you get to hire, do you hear that? Family or friends who meet the criteria, most of the times 18 or 21, clean criminal background, and at least a GED, and they have to have CPR and first aid. That's the general criteria for those areas, okay? And then you hire them, and you can pay them $18 an hour, a reasonable wage, and their family, and they probably would do it anyhow because they trust you and you trust them, and that's who we want. Trust is so important. And they come to your home, and sometimes it could be necessary to fire them. Okay, you always have that choice, so I wanted to let you know that. If you don't like a provider, you can go to your agency and say, no more. It doesn't work. Yes?
I was told that it couldn't be someone from the same household.
Could be, now that varies, Chris, state to state. Don?
In Florida, it can be the father or the mother or
It can be the father and mother in Florida. In Kentucky, it could be the father and the mother. One has to be the representative, and one has to be the provider of service. Did everybody hear that? Florida, Kentucky, Alabama. Just looked yesterday, by the way. We just sent him the information. Mississippi. Lots of states I talked to there, and you'll have to check. I can't sit here and espouse 50 states of whether they let you have a family member inside the home provide that services, but I know you can in a lot of states. Robert?
In Ohio, it can't be the guardian.
Just the guardian, yeah, so it can't be the guardian in Ohio.
I can be, because we're not married, I'm not the guardian.
So you could be the provider of service.
Do it right now.
Yeah, so let me be real clear on this, on how it impacts my family. I have 2 daughters with a disability, and Angelman being one of them. My wife hits the road every day where the rubber hits the road. That's in the home. Bathing, toileting, feeding, medication, all of those things. That's personal care. That meets the second, and we're at the level tier 2 waiver. In our budget, she can receive $26.50 an hour. And so we pay 20 hours a week per child, $26.50 an hour. Everybody hear that? Did everybody hear that? Now, that may not be in your state, so I mean, there are lots and there are some that don't. So just, you need to find out, again, from the agencies I'm going to share with you about that.
Okay, and I apologize because sometimes I don't get things or I'm
Yeah.
slow.
No, you're not. You're asking good questions.
You lost me in the part where I understand the agency and everything, but how do you move from the agency to actually receiving the payment and increasing the...
You have to ask your broker or ask somebody who's doing it how to do it in the state of Arizona. It's called self-directed or consumer-directed. It varies state by state. Self-directed options. And remember, all of this is going to be recorded, so jump back on and look at it again and say, hey, that guy, he's a dad, or dude, all right, and he is a dad with a daughter with Angelman Syndrome. He presented, and I want to find out exactly. The purpose, I'll go back to ResCare. ResCare, when I went to Frankfurt the year we proposed this, which was becoming a sweeping change across the United States, they took in $15 million in what? Profit. On the backs of what? Medicaid. Everybody get that? Profit. Who gets the profit typically in those companies? Executives that don't have children with Medicaid or children with Angelman Syndrome. So I sat there and I read the profit sheet right there in the Capitol building in Frankfort, Kentucky, and said, why should I pay their executives profit from Medicaid when I can control it and pay people I trust, my wife, my family members, my niece, the teacher at my daughter's school, to provide that service, which they would love to do, and I trust more, and give them a better wage. Just let me have the pie. I want it. And nobody sat there. No. And when I read the profit sheet, I saw legislators going, yeah, he's right. Why? Why let them do it? So don't let them do it. You got to know those. So that's, stay for my next session. That's my advocacy hat, okay? All right. Regardless of how the plan of care is and how it's developed, and by the way, you can blend services. You can be traditional for behavior supports. Everybody hear that? So you can have a portion of your services receive behavior support. So what we have, I'm going to be very transparent. I'm going to talk straight with you today and tell you exactly. We get $40,000 for consumer-directed or self-directed services. That means I control that budget minus 5% I pay in a brokerage fee to a fiduciary agent, our family. We get $23,000 in the traditional side for behavior supports, which goes to an agency called CBA. They help me provide behavior supports for a total of $63,000 per child. Everybody hear that? Shake your head if you know. Okay, good. At the SCL list, it bumps up to nearly $86,000. I'm waiting for that. Probably going to have to be me passing away before that kicks in, but I'm waiting for that, okay? All right. But the key is for the future, getting on waivers are critically important and knowing how to do that. Yes?
Is any of that money that you're receiving based on income?
No, it's medically deemed necessary under the Olmstead decision, which states, my daughter meets nursing level of care, and she has a developmental disability, therefore she can apply for waivers, but some states say you have to wait till the age of 18 for certain waivers. And Don's probably going to tell you this. Wait, go ahead, Don. You're brilliant. You're my man.
What I would like to do is ask you to repeat or re-summarize the question, because if they're talking to you...
Thanks, Don. He said, is any of that based on income? Sometimes it can be up to 300% of the federal poverty level in states, which is pretty significant household income. But most of the time it's considered medical deeming, therefore it's based upon the diagnosis of the family member. Medical deeming or 300%. Yes?
So I suspect this varies from state to state.
It does, and I've emphasized it's varying state to state. State to state changes. But what I'm telling you is what I know. Okay, and I talked to, over the last 3 years, probably 150, 200 Angelman families and others from California to Maine, to Florida, to California at the bottom side too.
Can you list a few states that have like easiest time, let's say?
Why don't we have that conversation afterwards, okay? Yes, okay, yeah. Her thing was, can we talk about the states that don't, or what they do have? And that's the one, so let me go back real quick. There is a link right there that'll show you too. So if, and again, this is all going to be uploaded and stuff, so yeah, it'll help you too. Yes?
Does the child have to be of age, 18, in order to get on the list of waivers?
No, her question, does the child have to be 18 to get on the list? Get on the list at cradle, which is birth, and as soon as diagnosis is made, and it stays with you until death. From cradle to death is a lot of these. A lot of times they have a provision that it does have to, because natural supports for a toddler and an infant usually kicks in at 0 to 3, so they're going to say natural support should be kicking in. But after age 3, typically you're going to start to get to receive those services. All right. Bear with me. I want to make sure I was. Okay, so yeah, that came up there. So waiver eligibility is by state. Some states apply the 300% above federal poverty rule. And this is actually a little bit higher now on a family 5, $83,730. But medical and institutional deeming is another criteria that most states use. Medical institutional deeming based upon an ICFMR. Now you still see ICFMR, which that means institution, intensive care facility for mental retardation. Sorry, that's what they still have it as, but some states are starting slowly to shift to ICF, IID, or IDD, intellectual and developmental disabilities. All right? And they don't count the parent's income or assets. None of it. They don't count it. So, but you have to have the denial letter if you applied for supplemental, or if you have received supplemental, that's the ticket you have to say, I've at least tried to get the supplemental security income first, be denied, or receive, and that's great because that's a benefit that helps your family. And then guardianship becomes really important at age 18 to 21, varying on state, because at that point you're going to get the waiver and then you're going to get the supplemental security income as well. No doubt about that. So the state does offer other Medicaid programs too that can help your families, and some are very specific to children and some help overall families in general. So let's back to Medicaid. Here's the federally mandated programs that they have to provide as a health benefit. So when you get Medicaid, you get this health benefit which covers the physician services, hospital services, all of these things. I'm not going to espouse everything. You can read those things. But those are federally mandated things that you will have once you get Medicaid. So you'll get reimbursed, or your deductibles will get picked up if your primary doesn't pick it up, or your co-pays are going to get picked up, okay? Everybody see those? Okay.
Is that in jeopardy, like right now, if it passes?
It could be tomorrow, could be a year from now, could be 400. Yes, it's in jeopardy because what her question is that in jeopardy? Yes, so put your advocacy hat on and we'll talk about that next session, but it is very much in jeopardy because they're talking about block grants. Right now it's 70-30%. So any person who receives Medicaid and is approved by that state, the federal government will automatically provide 70% of their needed support, and the states pay 30. If it's block granted, the federal government is going to say you're going to get a block of this money, and that's it. Do you understand? So if a new person needed those services, they're not going to say, well, we're going to give you 70%. You've already received your block of money. Okay? Everybody understand that? Who do we need to start writing? Our congressmen and our senators. Hello? I don't think people really understand about schools. Medicaid Part B is written out of schools. How many children receive speech OT, PT at their school? Do you understand that you will lose that in schools if they don't fund this, or the schools are going to have the new burden to find those dollars to keep those people in those buildings? Hello? How many are on the Angelman Protection and Rights group in Facebook? Okay, next time we get together, join the Angelman Protection and Rights so you know people like Terry Jo Bichelle. How many of you know Terry Jo Bichelle? Okay, she is all over it because she follows the NORD, which is the National Organization for Rare Disease, every day, because this impacts NORD as well, because that impacts clinical trial money. Okay, so the answer is yes, yes. If changed, it could have significant impact on our individuals with Angelman syndrome. But Medicaid states can provide optional services as well. So these are just optional services that could be included, and many of them are, as part of state Medicaid plans. This is above and beyond the home and community-based supports that we just talked about through the waivers. This is because you have the Medicaid insurance card as secondary insurance. Children 0 to 21, when they receive Medicaid, they get another piece of a pie called EPSDT, which stands for Early and Periodic Screening, Diagnosis, Treatment Program. This is very important. How many of y'all use combat cruisers or know what a combat cruiser is? How many of y'all have a special car seat? I did for my daughter. How many of y'all receive Pediasure or needed Pediasure or some type of a supplement? How many of y'all need diapers and wipes? How many of y'all need, all of that's under durable medical equipment, and up to the age of 21, If your doctor writes you a script and you have Medicaid and a DME, which is Durable Medical Equipment Provider, can give you those resources. That's big, huge. Yeah.
So when it comes to equipment
Mm-hmm.
for the children, well, obviously they're not going to maybe get so much better with the equipment after they age 21. Does that change?
It does change. Her question is, does that change about equipment after the age of 21? Yeah, but then you will be able to probably you will have to find out how you use direct Medicaid instead of EPSDT. Just a different program. But EPSDT is specific for 0 to 21 population. And it's administered through the Bureau of Maternal Health. And it's a program that's out there, so you have federal Medicaid, you have the state portion of Medicaid, you have federal EPSDT dollars, you have Medicaid waivers, there's layers. And these waivers are called like this. They're called 1915C waivers, 1915B waivers, 1115 waivers, 1114 waivers, which is Obamacare. 1114B, or 1114 is the Obamacare waiver. Did everybody get that? This is so, all of this stuff intertwines, and if they say block grant, they're going to say take care of all of that with this money, not 70-30. They, being our representatives, our senators, are going to suggest that's what we're going to need to do. Under at least the proposed bill that was put out. Now they're foregoing the August session, the recess, so they can do something in the Senate. It's a good time to start calling, folks, your senators. All right, how am I doing on time? I mean, anybody know? I'm not even looking at my watch. 9 what? 9:15? Oh, good. We're doing great. Yes. Hey, why don't we come up to the microphone? That might help because I know they're recording. I'm sorry, Eric. I haven't been asking them to do that. All right.
So obviously Medicaid is a partially federally funded program.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been denied. So I guess it's still based on income, right? Medicaid.
300% in some states.
Okay.
And medical deeming. You've been denied.
We were denied like regular Medicaid, and we are in line for the waiver in state of Illinois.
You're in line
which
for the
doesn't-
waiver. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody
It
understand?
will be years.
Yeah, so she's waiting. And what state are you in?
Illinois.
Illinois has got a long waiting list. Sorry, folks. But there's a potential for a lawsuit that's coming up in Illinois because they just can't keep putting it off forever.
All right.
Great
so just want to
question.
make sure that Medicaid is
If you're on a
still
waiting list, that's what you need to be
Okay,
on, is a
fine.
waiting list. If you get Medicaid and you can get the health insurance premium payment program, which is HIP. And I did this presentation, talk about HIP at the last conference, and I want to talk about it again because it's a state-by-state program. And if you get Medicaid and you carry a primary insurance provider, like Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, they want you to continue to do that and put your special child with Angelman Syndrome on that to help reduce the cost of Medicaid. But if they do that, they are going to reimburse you your premiums. Reimburse you your premiums. Like $400, $500, $600 a month. $700, $800, $900 a month. How about $1,400 a month? I've heard. I know. $1,400 a month. So that you will get reimbursed your premiums so that you maintain that insurance. Everybody hearing that? It's very state by state. But I ran into a number of people at this conference and said, if it took us a little while, and sometimes you get kicked off and on, it's based on an actuarial analysis looking at what the benefit would be, but that's money that's going to go right back into your family's home. Okay? It's part of the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1990, and it authorized states to implement a HIP program. So the Kentucky example for me is like we right now are in the over $1,000 range being reimbursed for my premium. You have to have a 50 plus member group plan. So yes.
Does it matter on age for the
No, it doesn't matter on age either. But the states can implement their own ways of doing that. He asked,
Is that more cost effective than having everybody on Medicaid?
well, they want you to, yeah, it is, because if you're on Medicaid and let's say your premiums are $400 a month, $600 a month, carried under a group plan, okay, that math is going to come up to be around $7,200, okay, for you to pick up primary. But on a hospital visit, that could be $50,000. So they want you to keep that primary so that Medicaid doesn't pay $50,000. They're going to bill your primary insurance first and then Medicaid second. So it's smart. It's smart. It's not anything, but people don't realize that the HIP programs are out there. And they vary state by state. Yes?
Information that you're going to give us at the end of the session, is it going to be about that as well?
HIP is definitely a program that some people, you may have to go directly Medicaid on that one in your state of Arizona.
So just go to the
Call-
offices and ask specifically about this.
Or Google search Arizona HIP. And that's it. And you may have to do a little bit more extensive research, but most of the time if I'm talking to a family, I'll look and say, do they have a HIP program? Yeah. Now, ABLE Act basics, this is the kind of a basic on the ABLE Acts. It was modified, the 529 rule, and added the 529A rule. So we all used to, we all save 529 accounts for education, for benefits of our children who want to maybe attend college. Well, smart legislation was proposed that we could actually have a program that's going to help individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. It shouldn't just be for neurotypical children that they can save money tax-free. So they developed this Achieving a Better Life Experience Act, and it allows up to $14,000 a year to be saved into an ABLE account annually and it protects supplemental security payments with a threshold of up to $100,000 in principal, but you still get that interest and you can just transfer that interest into another account. So you draw interest off the $100,000 up to $100,000, put the interest in another account, and it protects SSI, so that's good, and it protects Medicaid, and Medicaid benefits are protected regardless of the amount. So if you're getting a waiver and you're over $100,000, it doesn't matter, Medicaid still stays as a benefit to your family. The only thing that would be jeopardized is SSI. At the beneficiary's passing, though, that means your daughter, your son, your special child with Angelman Syndrome. In some states, Medicaid programs have the option to recoup Medicaid expenses. Careful. Everybody understand that? So they're going to say, we spent this much in Medicaid dollars on this child, and we're going to recoup it out of the ABLE Act money, principal. Okay? So you have to balance what you want to do. Special Needs Trust, ABLE Act. What do you think I suggest? I'm going to go Special Needs Trust, folks. But the one thing is I need to get clear, and I'm still not clear, and I'm getting clearer on this, whether Special Needs Trust money is tax deferred. Everybody understand that? It's where and I want to know this. I know the ABLE Act money is tax deferred and can grow without paying any taxes on that. So there could be a benefit to having an ABLE account, but have a Special Needs Trust, and every time I need to draw money from an account, I can put it into the Special Needs Trust. I need to figure those things out. So if anybody knows those answers, so you figure them out, I want you to email me. Yeah.
So, from what I've learned, a special needs trust.
Here, come on up here. I want you on video, or go ahead. And they're doing a session this morning. I'm going to go pick her brain.
We're in the process of setting up a special needs trust, and our decision was whether to make it a revocable or an irrevocable trust.
Yep.
Our understanding is that interest, I can't remember which one it is, I believe if it's a revocable trust, but I'm not sure on that, the interest and dividends on that account are taxable as part of our income.
Yes.
So if you don't put too much money in it, then you're fine.
Yeah,
so
right.
our plan is to create the trust with a very small amount of money and fund the trust upon our deaths.
That's called, everybody understand what he said? Good. That's called an estate trust, but he's got the account set up at when, God forbid, Paul, you and your wife, you know what I'm saying, I'm not, but we talk real, we keep it real here, we're transparent. It's gonna happen, we're gonna pass away, we wanna care for our children, our daughters and sons with Angelman Syndrome, adult children probably for all of us, please, God. Anyhow, that money is going to go into that special needs trust at their passing. It's called a transfer at death, okay? So, but what I do think Paul said was important. Taxes are taken out on interest and dividends in a special needs trust, where a 529 account, 529A ABLE Act account, that grows tax-free. Yes?
What would trigger Medicaid coming to recoup?
The death of your child. Okay, and I'm sorry to say that, but that's the trigger. And it's in the law, and people need to know that. So you want to protect that money that you put in there for your child that could have a benefit to another loved one.
Wait, for all, they would come after you for all of the expenses from their lifetime, or?
Anything you received in Medicaid benefits, the states have the option. They don't mean they're going to, but in the law, they have the option to recoup those benefits. They may not. Okay. Yes?
You should be clear also that the money that can go in that ABLE account, if your child can earn money because they've gotten great therapies and they have found a job somewhere,
Yeah.
that money can go directly into their ABLE account so that they do not have to pay income tax.
Yeah, everybody understand that too? So Paul said, understand that money that they potentially can earn can go into that account and they don't pay income tax on it. Okay, there's some benefits, but here's the fine line. It's like a fine line because you want to get that tax benefit, but you don't want something to happen. Now, if parents are survivors, I don't know. There's still some unanswered. It's state by state, yeah.
If they were to come back and recoup, they can only recoup the max that's in this ABLE account. They cannot.
No. Just the max that would be in it's only to the ABLE account. Yeah. And who's to say lawyers wouldn't lawyer up and they would say, we're not going to fight this battle, but it's in the law, folks, and I tell people what the law states, okay? So they both have a really great purpose. You got to balance how you use them. Now here comes the answer to your questions right here from Arizona. Okay, are you ready? All right. DD Act and key state agencies, federal agencies really, each state and they have territorial councils have councils on developmental disabilities. And they also, that's federal dollars, part of the DD Act. And they also have University Centers of Excellence for Developmental Disabilities in the area of education, research, and services. And they also have protection and advocacy. And there's projects of national significance. And these people at the DD Council have a policy person. And so if you need to know a policy for your state, call your DD Council. Council on Developmental, and here's how it is. Go to your state, Developmental Disability Council, put your state in there, and it's going to pop up with a number, okay? Email them. They love that more, because next thing you know, they're going to call me and be like, why are you telling everybody our telephone number? Just have them email. I know a lot of these folks. Well, I was served on our DD Council in Kentucky, so I know some of these folks in different states. The national and state ARC. Everybody know what ARC is? If not, you need to know about the ARC. The ARC of the United States is the strongest advocacy organization for intellectual and developmental disability. It was founded in the 1950s by parents of individuals with developmental disabilities. Right now, they're in 39 states, 730 local chapters. That's actually maybe grown a little bit. And it's based out of Washington, D.C. They're very passionate and active right now about what we were talking about with this new healthcare. But if you call the ARC, they'll have a program often called Parent to Parent, and they'll connect you with a very strong advocate. Let me tell you about Glenna Taylor. She was my first real encounter with an ARC person. And she saw me, and she's a Southern Kentucky girl. And she had an older son named Kevin. She does have an older son named Kevin, and Kevin's nonverbal, but he loves to run his own horse. He runs a stable. Glenna saw me at a conference, and she said, now, Eric, come here. I want you need to know this. They won't tell you. That's how she talked. And she said, you know you can pay your wife if you get a waiver? No. Are you sure? Yes. They won't tell you that, but you can pay her $26.50 an hour for personal care. Really? Yes. And I mean, she just took me aside. And then she would email me and talk to me and call me, and I called Glenna all the time. I went down to their stable down it's in Somerset, Kentucky, and near Glasgow. And we went to ride with our daughters at their stable, and Kevin had a PASS program, which is it's a Social Security program where you can save money for your individual with developmental disabilities to start a business out of supplemental security income. And he started his stable, and he had his business cards, and we went down there, and the girls rode horses, and what do you think Kevin asked for last? Kevin looked at me and he said, give me money. I earned that. This is part of. But then he took a lot of time. He rode the girls around on a little four-wheeler and with a seatbelt thing. You know, it was a UTV. And Glenna just loved it, and I loved it because Glenna was the first person who literally in the state of Kentucky, one of the first people who took me under her arms, and definitely she could be my mother at that point, and said, I'm going to help you through this journey. And it's through the ARC of Kentucky that I got connected to her, and then I got on the board of the ARC of Kentucky, and you can learn so much from other people with other disabilities. People that have children with other disabilities are important, so don't just think of us when you're helping others. There's lots of, or you need help from others. There's parents that are walking in our shoes, but they may have a child with SMA, or they may have a child with spina bifida, or cerebral palsy, or Down syndrome, and we all have to work together, okay? That's just my plug there. So there's 3 things about the future of Medicaid that are going to be constant. Stephen Covey says this. If you've read any Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Also, he's wrote another book that's great, The Speed of Trust. And I want you to trust what I'm telling you, but it may not be 100% for your state. But what I'm telling you is what I know. But here's what I really know about Medicaid. 3 things. Change. Change is coming. We're not sure how it's going to impact the individuals with Angelman Syndrome, but change is coming. We play a key role to how that change occurs. Okay? Choice. We have a choice to advocate. Advocacy is standing up for those who may not be able to speak for themselves. And then we want to say this. As a consumer representative and our children being consumers of services and benefits that are provided, we have to say this. Nothing about us without us. I have sat across a table and looked at a legislator who didn't agree with me and said, do you know I pay your salary as a taxpayer? You're here because of me. And all these people that are in this room too. Nothing about us without us. So if you're going to start making sweeping changes, let us at least talk to you and listen to us. Okay? Please know those things. So the last thing is principle. So change, choice, and principle. So what you got to know is what your story is. And if you stay for my next session, I'll help you develop it. Okay? That's all I have today. Thank you for being here. I want to answer questions. If you have questions, please come to the microphone for the conclusion of this session. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not sure if this is a Connecticut program or if this is a national program.
Sure.
But when you were talking about, your wife being paid $26.50, I just learned about money follows the person.
Yep.
And I just went through the paperwork with the agency, and supposedly we'll be allocated $30,000 for the year for, like, I hire somebody that I want to care for my child,
Yep.
whether it's respite or after school
Yeah.
while I work. Is that a national, is that
Yeah.
what that's, money follows the person?
Money Follow the Person started as a Robert Wood Johnson grant, and I talked with, I think, one of the parents about this, and it was a great conversation because she was really cool. She decided she was going to apply for a and what Money Follow the Person did is it had a provision to keep you out of institutional care or transition you from institutional care. And if you were, on average, do you know how much we spend per individual in institution care? It's like over $200,000 per state on average. I think $230,000 is what I read, but it's been a few years ago. I am not up on that as I need to be. But regardless of such, that's significant, okay? And so what Money Follows Persons did, provision is that if they're in institutionalized care, it's to help meet the requirement of Olmstead, they would say whatever that amount would be, that money would follow that person to get them back into a home in the community out of institutional care. So this young lady did something that I thought was pretty good because she was being denied Medicaid for a waiver. So there was a provision that I think we're working out, or I want to learn more if I find it. She was going to say, look, we're going to go for a 24/7 stay at an intensive care facility. And then when we leave out, we'll apply for Money Follows for Persons. Just 24 hours, but let's try to apply for Medicaid that way. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm waiting to hear back. And I would love to know because nobody wants your child to be away from them at all. But if that works, that's a heck of a good approach. And I would love to know if it does. So, excellent. Other questions? Yes, come on up to the mic. Please. They're going to tape this, so I want to make sure we get everything out there. You're a dude. Come on, Bill.
Very simply, I want to watch this. You said it was going to be available for viewing later on.
Yes.
I just want to know when and where so I can watch it with my wife. That's all.
Okay, perfect. Eric, are you here still? My folks are gone here. I'll find out. We'll let you know by the closing session, okay?
Okay, great.
All right, Bill.
I actually have to leave it in a
I
few minutes.
suspect they're going to post it to the website.
So, okay, all right. So what I'm hearing is it's probably likely to be posted to the website. Other questions? We can stay around. How are we doing on time, by the way?
9:35.
9:35. Okay. Got about 10 more minutes. We can take some time. All right, Mark.
So her daughter is 19, and so we're just in Nebraska. You have to turn 19 and we're in services. So we're in that process. I mean, we do want to move to residential care at some point. Just from, I think it'd be good for us and our daughter.
Oh yeah, a lot of people.
So as far as qualifying for the different waivers, just is it on a needs base? We are on a list, but does something have to happen for you not to have the ability to care for your angel, to kick you to the next level, or what do you have to prove if you want to do or extended family situation is what we would like to do.
So everybody heard that. What Mark's saying is their 19-year-old, the desire is to be in a residential or a home situation for their daughter who has Angelman Syndrome. And she's 19, and she automatically qualifies for if she's on one waiver, she qualifies for the other. So if she's not on that waiting list, get her on the list.
Yeah, she's on a wait list.
Okay, so unfortunately, the truth is that it's mostly emergency programming that's going to, emergency situations, crisis in your family, unable to care, health, heart attack, cancer, God forbid death. Those are the type of situations that I'm hearing about mostly. But each year the state does, most states provide slots, openings that would be available to meet that Olmstead requirement because they have to. They're trying to meet that requirement to say we have something to meet this federal lawsuit. The result of the lawsuit is that we have the Olmstead provision. And in that it says that you can't provide care to an individual in an institutional congregate setting. And so I have heard people who've rolled up onto a list and they'll receive a letter from their state and just say, you know, your daughter or son has been approved for the supports for community living waiver, which includes residential services. So that is your hope. Probably
I mean,
more
we would like to provide, I mean, actually create our own home or something, but it would have
Yes.
to be, I mean, it'd still be considered residential.
Absolutely, yeah. The big criteria that, so he said, we'd like to create a home, and that's kind of our future, empowering our future is to have the provision where we have that. And, oh, I didn't tell you about the other one. Wait. Retirees. Social Security has a new, and if you talk to a lady from Mass Mutual, write this down. DAC. DAC. It's when you receive your Social Security, when your benefit, let's say let me give you the math analysis of how she gave it to me. So let's say that your benefit at age 62 is $1,500, $2,000. Okay, that's your Social Security benefit per month. That'd be great, right? $1,500 or $1,500, $2,000. If you have a dependent adult child, you can increase that benefit by half. $2,000 would be. Are you doing this?
No, but is that even if they get SSI?
SSI goes away. So, but it could still be an extra $200 to $300, $400, or $500 depending on what. But it will never be less than $735. You see what I'm saying? It won't go below the SSI amount, but it can be up to half of your benefit. So I did so I used the $2,000 amount. If it's $2,000, that's an additional $1,000 compared to $735. But here's the kicker. This is the best part. She said, do you know about the 75% rule? No. Once you're on the dependent adult child provision, at your passing, that benefit goes up 75%, as long as it stays below the maximum amount eligible to Social Security. Everybody hear that?
75% of what?
So let's do the math real quick. Benefits $2,000. You apply for the DAC, the Disabled Adult Child Program. It's the Disabled Adult Child Program. $2,000, then you add half, that would be $3,000 that you're receiving. But it's part of it is for your disabled adult child, $1,000 of that. So $3,000. God forbid, but it's going to happen. You're going to pass. Then that $3,000 increases by 75% at your passing, and that benefit goes to your adult child. Everybody hear that? Everybody thinking about the future? I was like, what? I had never heard this. So we sat and we brainstormed a little bit, and she's like, yes. So, hello, that's like 51 to, what was that math? Somebody do that math for me. 75% of 3,000 is like $5,400, $5,300. Yeah. So that would be their monthly benefit at your passing. Plus, if they have Medicaid, that doesn't impact Medicaid. It wouldn't impact your ABLE Act. It wouldn't impact the Special Needs Trust. They are able to get that benefit plus all of the other things that you put in place. I had this whole thing, just this weight lifted off my shoulders as I heard that. As I start thinking about it, I'm like, that's absolutely amazing to hear.
But their spin down is unbelievable.
Spin down is unbelievable, yes.
Because I have a client that does that.
Yeah.
Their spin down is.
Medicaid it's a spin down provision. Yeah, but you can beat the spin down. You have to have somebody who's good to beat this. There's ways to go around the spin down. You got to have that home allowance voucher in. So she's speaking about spin down. Medicaid spin down is part of it, okay? I'm not an expert on spin down. You want to get somebody who's an expert on spin down. It's an actuary.
You have to spend a month on medical expenses to get Medicaid.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
You have to be creative when they make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's really, but I still want everybody to know about the DAC. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she makes good money. My client does.
Well, tell me about
She makes like $4,300.
a month, and she's an adult without parents.
Well,
Yeah.
her dad was a railroad worker.
Yeah. So hello, folks. Okay. And that doesn't include.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Making like $660 or something.
$660, and then all of a sudden when he passed, it bumped up to $4,300. Now look, I mean, I don't want us to really get caught up on that, but that's just something that helps take. I don't know. Y'all feel like me? I want to know how they're going to be cared for after I pass away.
She's in shoe heaven because she's a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
She lies and everything.
Yeah.